Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I wanted to remind everybody about something we spoke about earlier in the week, and then inshallah just make our general kind of Jummah reminders that we do every week. Earlier in the week we talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having a different perspective than His creation, right? And I hope it made sense. We talked about kind of playing a football game, and for most of us we're on the field playing the game, and we understand life and the game of life from that perspective. We might be different positions on the football field, some days playing offense, some days playing defense, and maybe different roles, right, on the team. But at the end of the day, we're always going to be on the field. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above His creation, is greater than His creation, so He's going to have a different perspective on things. So there are events that will happen in your life, just like they will happen in a game, that you may not expect, that you may not want. Some of them you may want and you may desire and you're hoping for them, but it's not always going to be like that. And so, there are days that are going to be easy and days that are going to be hard. Just try to, at some point, go back and appreciate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, right? And that's what, even in football, if we continue with that analogy, they go back and they huddle up, right? After every play or after every series or after every quarter or at halftime, right? They always go back. And so as a Muslim and as Muslim students and friends and family, you all should always have a point where you go back and try to understand that Allah is in control, that Allah is aware. And we mentioned also, like in this year, for me personally, and you all have your own stories, but this year was a strange year. There was a lot of people that passed away. It started with Uncle Ayub in the summer, and kind of continued on. And for me, again, I had 2 times this year where I got news of a family friend giving birth to a baby, and I had news of a family friend or a family member losing a baby. And it's just strange, you don't understand. And both of those times were within days. The first time, found out about a birth, found out about a death within like 48 hours. Second time this week, same thing. Found out about somebody giving birth and found out about somebody losing their child. So, you don't understand these things. And then just the other day, we found out that there's a really, mashallah, a very famous, he started off as a pop singer and started to become a da'i for Islam, someone who calls people to Allah and invites people to Allah. Junaid Jamshed, some of you may know him, some of you may not know him, but growing up, my mother and father, I grew up kind of in the countryside of Miami, but one thing that my mother and father did was they used to take us to Pakistan every summer, almost every summer. And there was one summer where I just fell in love with this group called Vital Signs, So I was this kid kind of growing up in the south side of Miami. But there was one summer where I just fell in love with this group called Vital Signs. Junaid Jamshed was the lead singer for that. And I got their cassette, and I'd be in my grandfather's home, and I was listening to it and singing it, and, mashallah, and so this is a gentleman that had a very interesting life, and started one place and ended in another. And there's a couple of things you can learn from people like that, and Allah knows His true reality, but every person is judged by their ends. Everybody is judged by their ends. So people may begin their life one way, and they may end it another. And that's the most important thing, the end, how you end your life. And so, you have a human being who started one place and ended another. And you have that even in the Quran. You see many stories where the Prophet ﷺ, or in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, where people began their life literally, burying their daughters. They were killing their own children, and then they ended their life among the walis of Allah, the amirs of the deen, of the ummah. So, people have interesting lives, and as do you. And so just be very mindful of the fact that Allah judges us by our ends, and we should always be striving to have the next day be better than the last, and the next day be better, and the next year be better than the last year. Always trying to improve, and most importantly, that when your life does come to an end, that you leave behind you a legacy that people talk about, and they have no choice but to say something good. I've met people like this. I feel like my father was like that, and others where after their passing, you can't find a person that can say anything bad about them. It's like You look under a rock and you can't find anybody, you know. And so when you live a life like that, that's kind of a testimony, you know, to your legacy, that people remember you in a good way, that people remember all of the good that you did, and they know you and they remember you, and you leave the earth as a good person, you know. And that's a really amazing maqam, amazing status. And that person, they say, like, when they pass away, the earth and the angels and the heavens are like, come, you know, come quickly. So, you know, life is going to be long. Life is going to be easy. Some days life is going to be hard. You don't know how long it will be, you know. I was talking to a family member the other day, and they were asking about how to talk to their kids about death and stuff like that. And one of the things we told them is to talk to your child in a way they may understand. So every human being is created in different colors, in different shapes, in different sizes, different heights, different color hair, different color eyes, different gender. Everybody has these unique characteristics. Your life is one of those as well. You know, some people have long, some people have short, some people have, you know, and we don't know, right? So, you know, understand that you have your life to live, and that you have an opportunity to do great things, and while you have your life, that you should take advantage of it and do everything that you can to leave a good legacy and a good memory. And so for Jummah, to bring it back to Jummah, the day of Jummah, you know, one of my teachers, Sheikh Ibrahim, he taught us in Aqidah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of everything, which we already know, and you all know that here at Sanad. But also that, like, every second and every moment and every breath, Allah is the creator of that second and the closer of that second. So He creates it and He brings it to an end. He creates it. Every second even is like that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we've always reminded you that, you know, not only every second, but every hour and every day, and then every Jummah as well. So one Jummah starts and one Jummah ends. This Jummah has begun, and then, you know, Maghrib time it will come to an end. And then you have days in between, and you have another Jummah as well. So you have to measure yourself and measure how you are from one Jummah to the next, and just keep doing that and keep doing that, you know. The last thing I would just leave you with is that when I was talking to my family about their loss, we talked about how the Prophet ﷺ, you really gain an appreciation for his life, because he was gone through every range of emotion that you can imagine. You know, went through every like the highest joy that you can imagine and the lowest sadness that you can imagine, including losing his own children. And so, you know, when you go through the good times and the bad times, you should always use them as an opportunity to kind of reconnect to the Prophet ﷺ and really appreciate his human experience, right? And then the one thing I was telling my family members is that, you know, all of that, yeah, and all of that difficulty and all of that, even having to bury his own children, and every day he had to turn in his homework, you know. Every day he had to wake up and be a prophet. Every day he had to wake up and call people to Allah. Every day he had to receive revelation. Every day he had to teach revelation. Every day he had to turn in his homework. Allah is asking, Allah is asking, Allah is asking. Every day an exam, every day an exam, every day an exam. So imagine dealing with all of that, right? All of the good stuff and all of the bad stuff and all the sad stuff, all the hard stuff. And then you have an exam tomorrow. You have to turn it in. You have a paper to write. You have to turn it in. You guys complain here about like one paragraph of work, right? Imagine being a prophet and turning in a prophet's worth of work every day, and you don't have a choice. You got accepted into that university, you got accepted into that class, you got accepted into that program, and every day you have to turn in your work. Every day you have to turn in your assignment. So, you know, keep things in perspective. Keep Allah in your life, and keep the Prophet ﷺ in your life as part of your perspective, and then know that every day is a day, inshallah, to do good, and every day that passes is a day to improve, and every Jummah as well. And so among the things that you can do today are what we always remind you about. Send a lot of salawat on the Prophet ﷺ, make a lot of dua for your family, make a lot of dua for people you don't even know, you know, just a general dua for anybody who's sick, anybody who's passed away, anybody who's being oppressed, anybody who's living in poverty or struggling, just a general dua for those things, right? And you know, this is the month of Rabiul Awwal, so it's a really important opportunity for you to kind of reconnect to the Prophet, peace be upon him. This is the month that he was born. This is a Jummah within that month, and so use it as an opportunity to send a lot of salawat on the Prophet ﷺ. Maybe read something about the seerah, inshallah. Starting next week, we'll go through some of the shama'il of the Prophet ﷺ, some of his attributes and features and things like that. We do that every year. But, those of you who are old enough can do it on your own as well. And so the easiest thing you can do is send a lot of salawat on the Prophet ﷺ. The scholars say that if you do that and you have a kind of a regular habit of doing that, then one of the benefits of that is that you will be happy. You'll be happy, right? So, use it as an opportunity to begin that habit today, inshallah, and Allah give you tawfiq in it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.